My phone's sudden ring startled me. I stepped back from Ethan, who finally released his hold. "It's Asher," I announced, feeling torn. Earlier, before everything went down in the principal's office, I desperately wanted Asher beside me, but he wasn't available. Yet Ethan had shown up when I needed someone. Though I couldn't blame Asher for being late, standing here with Ethan made me reluctant to leave. Ethan's expression shifted back to his usual composed self. The anger that had flashed across his face moments ago vanished as he straightened his posture, shoulders squared. "Take the call. I have some things to wrap up after this meeting anyway." I started to ask him to stay, but he was already walking away while my phone continued its persistent ring. I answered quickly before missing the call. "I'm really sorry for not responding earlier. I was in the middle of class with my phone silenced. Called you the moment I saw your message," Asher explained, sounding winded. I noticed Ethan's pace falter slightly as he moved farther down the hallway. "June, you there?" Asher's voice pulled me back. I forced my attention away from Ethan's retreating figure. "Yeah, sorry. You didn't cut class for this, did you?" "Don't worry about it. Already finished my test," Asher replied. "What happened? Why did the principal want to see you?" "Sort." My pulse quickened as I reviewed the conversation in my head. Telling Asher about everything would only trigger his frustration, and after my encounter with Ethan, I lacked the emotional capacity to handle that. "Just discussing the rumors with me," I said, offering a partial truth while avoiding specifics. Besides, any mention of Ethan visibly irritated Asher. "The principal believes you're not involved, correct?" Asher asked. "He's doubtful, but there's no evidence against me." "Because you've done nothing wrong," Asher declared, his annoyance evident in his sharp exhale. "Where are you now? Should we grab something to eat?" "I'm exhausted. Think I'll rest for a bit, but I'll still meet you at the library as planned." "You certain?" Disappointment tinged Asher's voice, and I understood why. Moments ago, I would have jumped at any chance to see Asher, but my conversation with Ethan had left me conflicted. Ethan's cologne lingered in my senses, triggering unfamiliar emotions. Confusion dominated my thoughts, and I needed clarity before facing Asher again. "Yes, thanks anyway." I genuinely appreciated Asher's willingness to drop everything for my well-being. My feelings for him remained, and I wanted his company. I was confident that upon seeing him, any thoughts of Ethan would vanish. "If you reconsider, my phone's on. Call me anytime." Asher's kindness was endearing, perhaps excessively so for his own benefit. Asher's presence in my life was something I truly appreciated. Juniper's voice carried an unusual tone through the phone, and I sensed she was withholding significant details about her day. I fought against my instinct to press for more information. Her current emotional state clearly wasn't conducive to deep conversation. Though I hoped she'd open up during our meeting later, anxiety gnawed at me. I wanted to be her safe harbor, someone she could turn to, regardless of life's challenges. After finishing classes for the day, I returned to my dorm. The instant I crossed the threshold, Nathan confronted me with unexpected hostility. "You're failing at your responsibilities," he declared, towering over me despite being 3 years my junior. "What exactly are you referring to?" His aggressive approach was completely out of character. "I witnessed Juniper being harassed on her way to class today. Shouldn't you be escorting her to prevent such incidents?" I had no idea. Her strange phone manner suddenly made sense. I'd previously suggested walking her to class, but she'd always insisted on managing alone. Her refusal to accept my help was increasingly frustrating. "Perhaps you aren't the right person for her then," Nathan stated. This confrontational attitude from typically gentle, mild-mannered Nathan caught me completely off guard. "What's driving this hostility toward me?" I asked, trying to understand his uncharacteristic behavior. "You went after Juniper even though Ethan warned us not to. Nobody else got a shot with her because of you." His hands balled into fists as he turned away, his face contorted with tension, and I struggled to hold back laughter. Despite his tall stature, he resembled a pouting child denied a toy. "You've got feelings for Juniper. How adorable." His eyes flew open, radiating frustration through his wolf energy. "Don't patronize me. I stand equal to any of you." I reached up and tousled his hair condescendingly. "Sure you do, but you've barely crossed into adulthood. Don't you think Juniper needs someone more on her wavelength?" Nathan knocked my hand aside. Stop talking down to me. Yes, I'm younger, but she needs someone who will actually protect her. Something I've proven better at than you today. Do yourself a favor and abandon this infatuation. You're setting yourself up for disappointment, I replied. Nathan was decent enough, but lacked life experience. After everything Juniper had endured, she needed someone more seasoned. Despite his determination, I didn't view him as competition. Don't be so arrogant, Nathan challenged. Keep this up and she'll slip away from you. When that happens, I'll be right there waiting. Juniper Asher occupied our usual library table when I arrived, absently tapping his pencil with a vacant stare. The atmosphere felt immediately tense as I placed my books down and took a seat. Hey, I forced brightness into my voice. You're early. His pencil stopped. I don't like being late. The flatness in his tone was uncharacteristic and concerning. An uncomfortable sensation crawled through me. He seemed angry, though I couldn't understand why. I know. You're just earlier than your normal early. Nathan mentioned seeing girls harassing you on your way to class today. My pulse quickened and muscles tightened. Yes, he intervened just when I needed it. Why didn't you tell me about this? His gaze remained fixed away from mine. Is that what's bothering you? I asked, feeling increasingly defensive. I shouldn't need to hear from my brother that you're being bullied. I've told you repeatedly I'm here for you, but you keep shutting me out. I've offered countless times to walk with you to class, and you always refuse. The air grew suffocating. Having Asher specifically upset with me created a horrible sensation, especially when I felt I'd done nothing wrong. I was going to tell you about it today when we met. I don't understand why you're so angry with me. Because it feels like there's a barrier between us. I've done nothing but try to prove you can rely on me, yet you held back about the principal's office incident and never mentioned being harassed on your way to class. Every time I attempt to get closer, I hit a wall. It's draining. I remained silent for a moment. After everything I'd endured today, I expected Asher's presence to provide comfort, but instead, he was confronting me. I haven't even had the opportunity to explain yet. Today has been relentless, and I simply needed to catch my breath. I was going to tell you, but you started accusing me before I could. You could have reached out earlier. Your inability to ask for help is maddening. I sighed heavily, stunned by Asher's words. Whatever mood he was in, I lacked the strength to handle it today. I messaged you when the principal summoned me. I wanted to talk, but you were unavailable, which I understood. By the time you called back, I was already drained and didn't feel like discussing it. I shouldn't need to justify myself, particularly not to you. I got to my feet and began collecting my belongings. What are you doing? Asher asked, finally making eye contact with me. I'm returning to my dorm to study alone. Today I've been attacked both physically and mentally, and I thought your presence would ease that burden, but you're just making it worse. So I'm leaving. I was on the verge of collapse. Daily stress was manageable, but today's relentless series of incidents had pushed me beyond my limits. So you're walking away without explaining anything that happened? Asher's voice cut through the air. I stared at him, seeing a stranger instead of the person I knew. The Asher in my mind was always patient and understanding. Yes, you're behaving like a jerk right now, and I don't owe you explanations. I gathered my belongings quickly and turned to leave. June, wait, I apologize. Please stay. Asher stood, his tone noticeably gentler. It's too late. We'll talk later, but I need space from you right now. I walked away without looking back. Despite his apology, the damage was done. His attack wounded me deeper than anything else I'd endured today. I had mere seconds before tears would start flowing, and I refused to let him witness that vulnerability. Asher. I screwed up completely. Nathan's comments triggered my insecurity, making me think Juniper was distancing herself. My desperate attempt to connect with her only drove her further away. Watching tears form in her eyes, tears I caused, felt like someone was tearing my chest open. I failed her when I should have been supportive, behaving instead like a complete jerk. I wanted to stop her departure, but knew I had no right. I made her cry, so if she needed to walk away, I had to respect that. An apology was necessary, but how? Flowers or chocolates seemed insufficient for what I'd done. What's got you looking so miserable? Axel dropped into the seat opposite me, throwing his feet onto our table. I shoved his feet down, shooting him a dark look. Must you abuse the furniture like that? And I'm not miserable. Axel immediately propped his feet back up, reclining casually. You're definitely miserable. You can't even fake being okay, so just talk. Nothing changes if you sit there brooding. I felt an urge to knock Axel's feet off again, or better yet, tip him right out of his chair, but only because his assessment was spot on. I was miserable and had been all day. First I unleashed on Juniper, and now I wanted to lash out at him too. Juniper's secretive nature gnawed at me. Her deliberate withholding felt like an invisible wall between us. I'd expected her memory loss to be our only obstacle, not realizing that her amnesia was my own doing, a constant reminder of my abandonment. Every blank stare where recognition should be was a knife twisting in my conscience. Why expect full disclosure from someone who barely knows you? Axel straightened his posture, removing his feet from the table with deliberate slowness. His eyes narrowed as he leaned forward. Few weeks of acquaintance doesn't build trust. Nobody spills their life story to virtual strangers. Get your head straight. Juniper shouldn't have to deal with your mood swings. A curse escaped through my clenched teeth as I raked fingers through my disheveled hair. I'm such an ass. Axel's questioning eyebrows prompted me to admit the full truth. She already witnessed this petulant side of me. I made her awful day substantially worse. Axel exhaled sharply, disbelief evident in his expression. You're sitting here wallowing instead of apologizing? That confirms it. You're both an ass and completely clueless. I raced away from Axel, his words stinging because they were true. I hadn't fought for Juniper when she needed me. Now she was hurting, tears threatening to spill because of my stupidity. I sprinted across campus toward her dormitory, my chest burning from exertion by the time I arrived at her door. Pausing briefly to regain my composure, I knocked firmly, listening as footsteps approached from inside. The door swung open to reveal Moira, not Juniper. Her eyes lit up immediately upon seeing me. "Asher, what a nice surprise," she said, twirling a strand of hair between her fingers while batting her eyelashes in an exaggerated display of innocence. "I need to speak with Juniper," I stated flatly. Moira's expression flickered momentarily, though her smile remained fixed in place. "Why bother with her? Someone of your position should aim higher. My father is an alpha. I have the bloodline your family would respect." Her hand slid onto my forearm, her touch calculating. I wondered if she wanted me or merely the status I represented. "Not interested. Is Juniper here?" I repeated, more firmly this time. Her pleasant facade crumbled. "She'll only hurt you in the end. You've heard what people say about her. She's using you until someone more useful comes along." I fought the urge to snarl at the woman blocking my path. "I'm aware of the facts. You fabricated those rumors to sabotage her. Nothing you say about Juniper will alter my feelings for her. I recommend stepping aside, because I'm going to see Juniper regardless of your interference." Someone spotted Juniper embracing Ethan Burrell, the teaching assistant, today. "That's your brother, isn't it? He could ensure she maintains her academic standing. Consider this. Why would she choose you when your brother is available?" Moira's statement hit a sensitive spot. Throughout my life, I've watched women gravitate toward Ethan, ignoring me completely. He excelled beyond me in every aspect, and my insecure side feared Juniper would prefer Ethan if she became acquainted with him. Nevertheless, Juniper deserved my trust, especially after my earlier behavior. Besides, Moira was the least credible source regarding Juniper. Juniper. A sudden knock startled me. I dried my tears hastily, though I certainly still appeared disheveled. Contemplating facing Moira and her cruel remarks about my appearance, I decided against opening the door. I owed her nothing. The knocking persisted. "June, please answer," Asher called from outside. My pulse quickened. I didn't want Asher seeing me, and kind of stared at the door, frozen. What brought him here? "I know you said you didn't want to see me," Asher said, his voice strained with remorse. "I don't blame you. I was a complete idiot. You deserve better from me. Please open up." I dragged myself out of bed and approached my door, opening it just enough to peek through. "Why did you come here?" I asked, deliberately concealing most of my face. Asher peered through the narrow opening, his expression contorted with genuine distress. "Because I need to apologize to you. I'll get down on my knees if that's what it takes. I know I screwed up. Looking at Asher's pained face made it hard to maintain my anger. His obvious regret tugged at my resolve, but I resisted the urge to forgive him instantly. The cutting remarks he made earlier deserved a proper explanation. I was excited to see you today, and then you suddenly turned cold toward me for reasons I still can't figure out. I know, Asher acknowledged, shifting his weight. If you let me in, I'll explain everything, not that it justifies my behavior. Please. Those pleading eyes were my weakness. I swung the door open, allowing him into my room. After he entered, I closed it and leaned back against it, waiting silently for his explanation. Asher halted in the center of the room, glancing briefly at my belongings before focusing his attention on me. Nathan stopped some bullies from harassing you today, he finally admitted. And, I replied, feeling my throat constrict. If this was his idea of an apology... I was jealous because Nathan protected you when I should have, Asher admitted, raking fingers through his disheveled hair. Then I stupidly made my insecurity your burden. Why be jealous that Nathan helped me? I questioned, genuinely confused. Isn't his protection a good thing? I like you too much, Asher confessed, his voice dropping. So much that I fear my honesty might drive you away. Seeing Nathan defend you when I couldn't, knowing he has feelings for you too, it terrifies me. I feel my emotions are racing ahead of yours, and one wrong move might cost me everything. His eyes met mine, raw worry evident in them. His vulnerability was palpable, making my chest tighten. His intense feelings seemed premature given our brief acquaintance, yet they thrilled me nonetheless. Every day with Asher had brightened my life, today being the sole exception. My own attachment to him remained a mystery even to myself. I'll leave if you want, Asher offered after my prolonged silence. Just know I deeply regret my behavior earlier. I stepped forward, eliminating the space between us. My fingers found the hem of his shirt, toying with the fabric. You don't need this constant fear of losing me. I like you intensely, too. The only way you'll lose me is by pushing me away like you did today. I gazed up at Asher, my pulse racing uncontrollably. His distinct aroma enveloped me, immediately fogging my thoughts. I apologize. I swear I won't allow jealousy to control me again. Asher gently moved a strand of hair from my face and rested his forehead against mine. I felt his warm breath on my skin, sending a wave of sensation through me as he stood so close. You need to believe me when I tell you I'm staying right here. I care about you, understand? I said quietly. More than my brothers? He questioned. I recognized this came from his deep-rooted insecurities. The Burrell brothers lived under immense expectations, each possessing their unique charm. I felt an unexplainable connection to his siblings, but my heart had chosen Asher. More than your brothers, I confirmed. Asher's expression softened into a gentle smile, his tension visibly melting away. That's what I needed to hear. He moved closer, capturing my lips with his, instantly erasing the hurt and anger that had existed between us moments before. Juniper. Asher's weight pressed against me, the mattress yielding beneath my back. The transition from standing kisses to horizontal entanglement happened with dizzying speed. His hands traveled along my sides, fingers slipping beneath the hem of my shirt. Each touch sent currents through my skin. Our legs tangled together as I surrendered to his mouth on mine. Heat bloomed across my face and neck while I arched into him, craving deeper contact. The intensity surprised me. I wasn't one for rushing physical relationships, yet here we were after knowing each other mere weeks. Something about this connection defied conventional timing. It felt established, almost familiar. Our earlier argument had paradoxically strengthened our bond. The confrontation had stripped away pretenses, leaving us emotionally exposed to each other. The vulnerability was both intimidating and exhilarating. Asher pulled back first, his breathing ragged as his chest rose and fell. We should stop, he murmured between breaths. We should stop, I echoed, though my body disagreed entirely. When locked in Asher's embrace, everything else disappeared. The principal's stern words, Moira's friends shoving me down in the hallway, the constant pressure to maintain perfect grades, all vanished. The valedictorian ambition I'd clung to since my parents' death seemed distant and unimportant compared to this moment. I clutched the back of his head, yanking him to my lips again, desperate to silence my racing thoughts. With my ex, intimacy was different. He always initiated, making it pleasant but routine. But with Asher, This connection overwhelmed me completely, despite our fully clothed bodies. Could this be what finding your mate felt like? My wolf growled at this fleeting idea. Every cell in my body craved Asher, wanting to surrender completely to him. Yet something strange happened during our kisses. Visions of his twin infiltrated my consciousness. Even as Asher explored my mouth, Ethan's face materialized in my mind. None of it added up. This attraction couldn't possibly be a true mate bond, because my pull extended beyond just Asher to include his brothers. This contradicted everything I'd been taught. The moon goddess blessed two wolves with a singular connection, not this confusing multiple attraction I was experiencing. Everyone described finding their mate as an instantaneous recognition upon first touch, an unmistakable spark. While my wolf felt drawn toward all the Burrell brothers, that definitive click remained absent. With Asher specifically, it resembled smoldering embers in my core, gradually warming me from the inside out. Misfortune shadowed my existence. The odds of finding my destined partner seemed non-existent. Reality dictated that not all werewolves encountered their true mate. With various packs scattered throughout our lands, wolves often lived their entire lives without crossing paths with their other half. Sometimes tragedy struck, claiming a mate before any connection could form. This didn't condemn werewolves to solitude, though. Many formed profound bonds with fellow werewolves or occasionally humans. Some actually considered it fortunate to avoid finding their predestined match. A fated pairing didn't guarantee harmony or health. It also stripped away choice in matters of the heart. The supernatural bond created pressure to maintain relationships despite fundamental incompatibilities. Those without mates enjoyed freedom of selection rather than struggling through personality clashes. "Are you okay?" Asher's voice broke through my mental wandering. I nodded. "Yeah, I'm good." He repositioned himself beside me, propping his head up with one hand. "You seemed to disappear for a moment. Where did you go?" I contemplated fabricating something, claiming I was reflecting on my day or something trivial. The topic of mates felt too weighty for our current level of closeness. Yet after Asher's earlier transparency, dishonesty felt wrong. "I was thinking about mates," I confessed. Asher tilted his head quizzically. "What made you think about that suddenly?" I moistened my lips, contemplating how to articulate my feelings to him. "There's this strange attraction I have toward you that sometimes bewilders me. I've known other guys much longer, yet never experienced this type of connection before. It makes me question if this is what finding a mate feels like, though it doesn't quite match what I'd expect from a mate bond." With a sigh, I rested my head back on the pillow, staring upward. I must sound delusional. I certainly feel that way. Asher took my hand in his, weaving our fingers together before pressing them to his mouth. "You don't sound delusional at all. While I don't believe we're mates, I do experience an unprecedented connection with you, unlike anything I've felt before." Shifting position, I placed my palm against his chest. "If we both sense this connection, how can you be so certain we aren't mates?" He toyed with my fingers silently, his brow furrowing as he considered his response. I reached out and smoothed the wrinkles with my fingertip. His face brightened at my touch, and clarity seemed to dawn in his eyes. "What do you recall about your early years?" he asked suddenly. Though the question seemed random, I trusted he had valid reasons for asking. "Which aspects of my childhood?" I replied. My answer could vary greatly depending on what he wanted to know. "Everything," he said. I pinched my lower lip, considering how to begin. When my parents were alive, we relocated every couple of months. The reason wasn't clear. They claimed it was job-related, but I can't recall what they actually did. Making friends became nearly impossible with our transient lifestyle, so I found refuge in academics. School provided the only consistency in my life, regardless of where we lived. After they died, Moira's family took me in. Her father, the pack alpha at that time, probably felt obligated to care for an orphaned werewolf. They provided necessities, food, clothing, shelter, but I was never truly part of the family. I remained perpetually an outsider, though I accepted that reality. "What about your earlier years?" Asher pressed. "Why are you asking?" I questioned, confused about his intentions. "Just answer the question," he urged. I inhaled deeply, searching through my mental archives but finding alarming gaps. My brow furrowed at the emptiness I encountered. I'm not sure. I remember our nomadic life with my parents, but before that, there's nothing but blackness. I shut my eyes, struggling to understand the void in my memories. My first recollection is from around age 8. I was in a hospital, surrounded by adults talking over me. Not to me. I have no idea why I was there or what preceded that moment. You don't remember anything at all? Asher asked. I rubbed my temples, pushing away thoughts I hadn't entertained in years. Those fragmented memories of questioning my parents floated in my mind, but answers remained elusive. A substantial chunk of my early years existed only as a blank void, unsettlingly abnormal. No, I replied. The harder I concentrated on retrieving those memories, the more intense the pain became in my skull. It felt like repeatedly ramming against an impenetrable mental barrier. June. Asher's words cut off as his phone blared. Sorry, just a second. He extracted his phone, his expression darkening. What? The response from the caller came through muffled. This isn't ideal timing. Asher expelled an irritated breath. Fine. I need half an hour. You can't expect me to abandon everything because you need something. All right. 15 minutes, not a single minute earlier. Ending the call, Asher jammed his phone back into his pocket. He straightened up, his previously relaxed demeanor completely evaporated. Only one person had that particular effect on his mood. Ethan called, I guessed. Asher gave a half-hearted laugh. That transparent, am I? Somewhat, yes. I shifted onto Asher's lap, casually looping my arms around his neck. Is leaving really necessary? Asher gripped my hips. I'd stay if I could. I nodded, not wanting to complicate his departure. Just so you're aware, Ethan showed up at the principal's office and stood up for me. I meant to tell you before, but I behaved like an ass, Asher completed my thought. Yeah, I laughed, wanting to be forthright. I preferred you hear it from me directly. Transparency matters to me. I appreciate that, June. My earlier comment was unfair. I do trust you, Asher responded sincerely. My lips found his, instantly dissolving the day's tension. His presence was comforting, and I wished he could stay longer. Before you leave, Nathan invited me to his game Friday. I thought we could make it a date. Asher's fingers traced patterns on my back, sending shivers across my skin. I'd love to, but my father's coming to town. Family obligation I can't avoid, but I'm all yours afterward, if that works. Sounds good, I replied, though inwardly I felt uneasy about attending alone. Sports events weren't my usual scene, but after Nathan's morning assistance, I wanted to show support. I really need to get going, Asher said, but one more thing. I'm thinking of hosting a school party. The Burrell name carries weight. Being seen with me publicly might help repair your social standing. A party? The suggestion caught me off guard. When exactly? We'll discuss details later. Just consider it. Ethan suggested it, which irritates me, but his ideas typically have merit. All right, I'll consider it, I said, though parties weren't really my scene. With both Ethan and Asher backing the idea, I felt obligated to at least think it through before refusing. I've got to run now. Sorry, Asher apologized. His kiss lingered with unexpected intensity, sending warmth cascading through me. For a moment, I contemplated ways to make him stay, but he broke away and gently lifted me from his lap before I could formulate any strategy. Catch you later, okay? Juniper. I stared blankly at my closet, unsure what attire was appropriate for a sports event. My typical school clothes seemed too formal for watching athletic competitions. After deliberation, I settled on a basic blue sweatshirt paired with jeans. As I approached the stadium, I found myself among throngs of people heading in the same direction. Many had painted their faces with our school's blue and gold colors or wore team jerseys. Everyone around me buzzed with excitement, smiling and laughing eagerly. I wondered if I was the sole person feeling anxious about attending. After purchasing my ticket, I entered the venue. Though the game hadn't started, the stadium was already more than half full. The section reserved for visiting supporters was decorated prominently with red and black, clearly marking where the rival team's fans would sit. I located a sparsely occupied corner of the bleachers near one of the goalposts. The spot offered a limited view of the field, explaining its unpopularity. This didn't bother me, however. From my understanding, wolfball was essentially football modified to incorporate werewolf elements. Due to its violent nature, non-werewolves were prohibited from participating. Werewolves could withstand greater physical trauma because our bodies healed faster. Injuries that might take humans weeks to recover from would heal in just days for werewolves. I stared at the brutal match, unable to grasp why anyone found this bone-crushing sport appealing. The violence was undeniable, yet I couldn't articulate a single rule or strategy if asked. This mindless aggression was precisely why I'd avoided wolfball games until today. Taking out my phone, I snapped a quick photo of the goalpost and sent Nathan a message. "Good luck on your game today. I'll be rooting for you." No reply came through. He was probably focused on pre-game preparations. My foot tapped rhythmically against the bleacher as I waited for the match to begin. Conversations buzzed around me, but for once, my name wasn't being whispered in hushed, judgmental tones. Instead, everyone chattered excitedly about the season opener and the school's new star player, Nathan Burrell. Surprisingly, as more spectators filled the stands, my usual social anxiety diminished. I'd been worried someone would confront me in such a public setting. After that incident earlier in the week, either Nathan or Asher had escorted me to every class, effectively preventing further bullying. Perhaps Asher was right. His social standing could actually improve my reputation at school. The crowd's enthusiasm for Nathan was palpable, and nobody had harassed me when I was seen with either brother. Maybe hosting the party Asher suggested wasn't such a terrible idea after all. It might give everyone a chance to see beyond the vicious rumors that had defined me. The stadium erupted with cheers as everyone rose to their feet. Following suit, I scanned the field where players were emerging. They wore only blue spandex shorts, specially designed to accommodate their transformation into wolf form, and ran bare-chested despite the cool air. I spotted Nathan among the athletes as they circled the field, working the crowd into a frenzy. The atmosphere was electric. I'd heard about sports enthusiasm, but experiencing it firsthand was entirely different, unexpectedly exhilarating. When the opposing team jogged out, their dedicated section made noise, but it paled in comparison to our thunderous reception. Both teams lined up as a referee in black and white stripes approached. He presented a coin to the captains and flipped it. Though I couldn't see the result, the explosive cheers surrounding me made it clear our team had won the toss. The visitors placed the ball on the ground while our players positioned themselves. When they kicked off, sending the ball flying toward our team, players on both sides transformed into wolves with fierce roars rippling through the air. My attention fixated on Nathan as his transformation began. His wolf form, though slender, loomed larger than most competitors. The team captain matched him in size but carried more muscle mass, giving him a broader appearance. Without hesitation, Nathan lunged for the ball, leaping skyward to snatch it before it touched the ground. Nathan sprinted across the field with astonishing speed. Opponents from the rival team attempted to bring him down, but his agility proved superior. He twisted and swerved past every challenger until reaching the opposite end of the playing field. Deafening cheers erupted when Nathan secured the first goal of the match. Nathan Burrell, our rising star, delivers the opening goal and surpasses all expectations, the announcer's voice boomed through the speakers. The crowd's enthusiasm intensified. The opposing team visibly tensed while positioning for the next play. Nathan's ability to score within the game's first minute, clearly an exceptional achievement, had visibly damaged their confidence. For the subsequent round, the opposing side took possession of the ball as players on both teams shifted back to human form. Each squad assembled in formation. CUW positioned their largest players at the front line, while Nathan and several others remained stationed at the rear. The opposing team's captain barked orders before hurling the ball to their most imposing player, a mountain of a man who dwarfed Nathan in both height and bulk. He moved like a human fortress across the field. Several players from our school charged at him, only to ricochet off his massive frame as if he were made of steel. It ultimately required 3 of our burliest teammates to bring the human behemoth down, yet he maintained his death grip on the ball even as he hit the ground. A whistle pierced the air, and everyone repositioned themselves further along the boundary line. As both sides formed their lines again, our team captain pulled Nathan aside for a brief consultation. I edged closer, straining to catch their exchange. a knot of unexplained tension forming in my stomach as I watched. When play resumed, the ball found its way back to the same hulking opponent. This time, our team's largest players instantly transformed into their werewolf forms. The opposition immediately followed suit, and within seconds, half the field teemed with snarling werewolves. 4 of our transformed players launched themselves over the front line, targeting the human tank directly. As they crashed onto him in a violent heap, I winced involuntarily and averted my eyes from the collision. I heard the bones break with a sickening crunch, even from my distant seat. The referee's whistle pierced the air while the crowd responded with a mixture of sympathetic groans and enthusiastic cheers. Glancing back at the field, I watched as officials pulled werewolves away from a pile to reach someone trapped underneath. The injured player remained motionless on the ground, and I noticed his leg bent at an impossible angle. The match continued with brutal efficiency. By mid-game, 3 players had been removed due to injuries, 1 from our team and 2 from the visitors. The opposing team's largest player had to be carried away on a stretcher. Several of our team members exchanged congratulatory high fives at this development, which made me feel nauseated. I'd understood wolfball was violent, but the celebration of injuries disturbed me. "Didn't expect to find you here." I turned away from the action to see Axel climbing onto the bleachers beside me. His distinctive scent immediately registered, and I fought against an instinctual urge to move closer. "I thought you said we needed to keep our distance," I reminded him, studying his face carefully. Axel didn't strike me as someone who attended wolfball matches regularly, making me wonder if he'd known I would be here despite his casual tone suggesting otherwise. "About that, I've been reconsidering." Axel reclined backward, resting his elbows on the row behind us, in what looked like an uncomfortable position. "Reconsidering can be risky," I replied, deliberately shifting my focus back to the game to avoid staring at him. "You enjoy thinking, don't you? That's why you're so fixated on academics. I'm not." I stopped myself mid-sentence, realizing I had no valid counterpoint. School had consumed my existence for most of my life. Obsession wasn't far from the truth. "Fine. What's your suggestion?" Axel shifted forward, resting his arms on his knees as he observed the game briefly. "I think we should reconsider the whole avoiding each other plan." I glanced at him, noticing his face uncomfortably close to mine. My heartbeat accelerated instantly. I diverted my attention back to the field, feigning interest in the match. "Asher and I are together." "I'm aware, and I support that completely." Axel paused, his gaze fixed on me. "But I think friendship between us makes sense." My eyes returned to him, feeling less intimidated by the proximity this time. "Just friendship? Nothing more?" "Strictly friends," he confirmed. "What changed?" I asked. Axel's inconsistency baffled me. He kissed me, then dismissed it, complained about my presence and insisted on distance, yet now proposed friendship. "You're with Asher. I assumed anything more wasn't what you wanted." He smirked, deliberately misinterpreting my question. I shot him a frustrated look. I meant, why this sudden interest in friendship? Though the clarification felt unnecessary, Axel shrugged casually. "You could use allies when most of the school despises you. Is that your only motivation?" I had no interest in being someone's charity project. "Are you really going to make me spell it out like some sentimental fool?" He challenged. "Fine, we can be friends." I folded my arms across my chest, standing my ground. Axel's mood swings were exhausting, but the strange magnetism between us remained undeniable. If friendship was the only option, I'd take it, but I needed to know he wouldn't just change his mind tomorrow. "I realized something," Axel continued, his eyes fixed on mine. "Having you as a friend is better than not having you around at all. Does that work for you?" I inhaled deeply, trying to steady my pulse that quickened whenever he was near. No way I'd let him see how easily he disrupted my composure. "Yes," I answered simply, hoping my voice betrayed none of the complicated emotions churning inside. "Nathan." Adrenaline surged through me as I dominated the field. From my earliest days, Beta Burrell had thrust me into specialized training. I'd always outmatched my brothers in both speed and agility, gifts my father was determined to cultivate into wolfball greatness. His ambition gradually fused with my own desires. Or perhaps it was always my dream. That distinction had blurred over time, but it didn't concern me now. What mattered was scoring the night's first goal, cementing my reputation at this school. I'd validated all the whispers about my exceptional talent, and I was just getting started. By season's end, professional scouts would be fighting for my signature. I darted across the turf with precision, materializing exactly where needed. When an opponent mishandled the ball, I snatched it between my teeth and charged toward the goal line. Juniper watched from the stands tonight. Finally, she would witness my true capabilities. I'd caught her glances. She still viewed me as the kid brother. Understandable, given our 3-year age gap. It was natural she connected more with Asher and Axel, who shared her age, or with Ethan, the eldest of us all. My father never allowed childhood, not after the incident. He demanded we embody our family name's expectations immediately. My youth vanished faster than my brother's, yet no one acknowledged that my experience matched theirs, despite my younger age. I was determined to prove myself to Juniper, to make her see me as capable and mature enough to care for her, even if it meant outworking my brothers. Halfway through the game, I'd already scored 3 goals. Our team had added 2 more to the scoreboard. The opposition was crumbling. They nearly scored once before Josh intercepted, allowing me to grab the ball and immediately turn their almost success into another point for us. At this rate, we'd shut them out completely. I could see their morale breaking with each passing minute. Their scowls directed at me didn't hurt. They fueled me. Those hostile glares confirmed my dominance on the field, how my abilities crushed their hopes. With less than 2 minutes until halftime, the ball came to me. I caught it firmly, showcasing speed that surpassed even some werewolves despite my human form. I weaved through defenders effortlessly, flaunting my agility. The crowd's cheers intensified as I approached the goal, the volume swelling in anticipation of another score before the break. I was blindsided when a massive figure crashed into me. The attacker materialized from nowhere, fangs piercing my arm. My body slammed against the grass with such force that consciousness fled, leaving me paralyzed. Asher. My foot drummed restlessly as I waited in Ethan's apartment. Facing Ethan was challenging enough, but confronting my father was an entirely different nightmare. While Ethan simply flaunted his superiority through subtle digs, my father meticulously dissected every one of my shortcomings. Tonight's meeting filled me with dread. "Keep still," Ethan commanded while frantically straightening his living space. "Father will target you immediately if he sees that nervous habit." I forced my foot to stop, but this only intensified my anxiety, trapping the nervous energy inside me. "What about you? You've been cleaning non-stop since I arrived. Do you seriously think he'll notice some insignificant dust on a shelf?" Ethan froze, eyebrows shooting upward. "We've only been away from home for a few weeks. Have you already forgotten what kind of man raised us?" Point taken. I reclined and inhaled deeply. "Sit up straight. You'll crease your shirt." I stared at Ethan, realizing he wasn't joking. "Why are you so tense? You've always been his favorite." Seeing him this rattled was unusual, a rare glimpse that my supposedly perfect brother wasn't actually emotionless. When you wear the label of perfect, there's zero margin for mistakes. I was sent here with specific tasks: dismiss a professor and shut down rumors. Father expected resolution by now, but instead, Juniper's reputation is worse. Bullying is rampant, and this school is hardly exemplary. The principal challenges my authority, and that woman we were warned about years ago isn't just present, you're involved with her. Ethan stopped his cleaning and faced me, his forehead creased with new lines, making him look years older in just moments. "So yes, I'm anxious about his visit. That's why I wanted you here." I stared at Ethan, feeling like I'd entered some parallel universe. "You wanted me for moral support? Just forget it and sit properly." Ethan resumed his cleaning. I'd observed him with Father before. He always received praise and appeared completely collected. The concept of my older brother experiencing nervousness seemed impossible. I settled back in my chair, my own anxiety suddenly diminishing. "You actually need me." Never thought I'd see the day. Ethan briefly paused, only to shoot me a cold look. "I'm not the flawless person you imagine. I have numerous defects. I'm simply better at concealing them. Don't get overconfident. You're only here to divert some attention from me." His words had turned acidic, but there was no taking them back now. This revelation shifted how I saw Ethan completely, a perspective I intended to keep. This humanized version of my oldest brother felt more authentic to me. Whatever you say. 3 sharp, methodical knocks interrupted our conversation, causing both of us to freeze instantly. Ethan's eyes widened as he looked at me. Don't mention Juniper or your relationship with her if possible. I nodded in understanding. Protecting Juniper from our father was crucial. His unexplained hatred for her meant the less he knew about her, the safer she was. Standing up, I approached the door alongside Ethan, futilely trying to smooth the wrinkles from my shirt and wishing I'd worn something more presentable. When Ethan pulled the door open, our father stood there in his typical business attire, black blazer and shirt, creating a stark backdrop for his vibrant red tie. His diamond cufflinks gleamed ostentatiously, broadcasting his wealth. Whether meeting family or business associates, Beta Burrell never compromised on appearance. His meticulously trimmed beard framed those coal-black eyes that always seemed to judge. The blue in our eyes, Ethan's, Asher's, Axel's, and mine, was our mother's solitary legacy to us. The imposing figure before me stood with an aura that banished even the smallest crease from his attire. Though I recognized him as my father, his wolf presence was overwhelming, making it a struggle to maintain my posture and eye contact. Any sign of weakness would earn his immediate criticism. This was his way of checking if we'd become less resilient away from his influence. Beta Burrell, Ethan acknowledged with the slightest nod. Ethan, I didn't anticipate your brother joining our scheduled discussion. Our father's displeasure was evident, yet Ethan remained composed. I thought his presence might please you. Please enter. I have hot water prepared for tea. Ethan motioned toward the interior. Upon crossing the threshold, our father immediately inspected the nearest shelf, rubbing dust between his fingertips with disapproval. Clearly, even this minor flaw would count against Ethan's standing. I favor coffee. Certainly. I've also brewed fresh coffee. I'll fetch that now. Ethan moved to the kitchen area and reached for cups. Asher, tea or coffee for you? Coffee, thank you. I approached the table but remained standing, aware of my father's dominance ritual. Years of experience had taught me that he must always claim his seat first, a clear display of his authority. My father examined the room with meticulous attention, scrutinizing each corner before finally claiming the seat at the table's head. I'd never before noticed how intensely he watched Ethan. All this time, I'd assumed Ethan's status as the favored son came from his exceptional work ethic, earning our father's complete confidence. The reality before me told a different story. There was no trust in our father's gaze, only predatory vigilance waiting for Ethan to falter. Ethan returned with the coffee cups and his own tea. Would you like any cream or sugar? I take my coffee black, Beta Burrell stated, lifting the cup to inhale the aroma. This is high-quality coffee grounds. Impressive. Only the best for you, father, Ethan replied. I'll take cream and sugar, I said. Knowing the bitter taste of black coffee was beyond my tolerance, only with sugar did it become drinkable. No, he won't, our father cut in immediately. His signature scowl appeared, right side of his mouth downturned, eyes hardening. Sugar makes you crash, and cream is unnecessary calories. Black coffee is for grown-ups, so I suggest you start learning to drink it that way now. Yes, father, I responded, suppressing my true thoughts. Years ago, I would have argued, but experience had taught me the futility of opposing him. I'd learned that simply agreeing, regardless of my actual feelings, made life considerably less complicated. With our drinks served, let's address the real reason for my visit, our father stated flatly. Ethan, explain yourself. Why didn't you inform me about Juniper Johnson's presence here and Asher's relationship with her? Juniper. Nathan. The scream tore from my throat as I watched him collapse under the weight of an enormous wolf player. Still in human form, Nathan's vulnerable body crumpled beneath the massive tackle. More players piled on, and panic seized my chest, strangling my breath. Beside me, Axel's fingers dug into my arm, anchoring me as I nearly launched from my seat. He'll be okay, Axel muttered, but his rigid posture and fixed gaze betrayed his own fear. The referee's whistle pierced the air. Players were pulled away one by one, revealing the original attacker who lingered longest. As he shifted back to human form, crimson streaked from his mouth, his face twisted in a satisfied smirk. Is biting even allowed? I questioned. I understood Wolfball's brutal nature, but drawing blood seemed to cross a fundamental line into something more savage. I don't think so, Axel replied tersely, eyes never leaving his motionless brother. Come on, get up, he urged under his breath. I studied Axel's profile. Beneath his typical detachment, raw concern for his brother was etched across his features, mirroring my own mounting dread. Nathan remained still as the field cleared around him. Another whistle blast summoned the medical team. They rushed forward, one kneeling to assess him while others produced a backboard. With practiced movements, they transferred him carefully and carried him from the field. I'm going to murder that son of a bitch, Axel snarled through clenched teeth. That wasn't some random accident. He released his grip on me and leapt off the bleachers, storming toward the playing field. I stumbled forward, nearly falling as I rushed after him. Axel, stop! I sprinted to catch up, seizing his arm, just before he reached the fence dividing spectators from players. Back off, JJ, Axel demanded, trying to wrench free from my grasp. I dug my fingernails into his flesh, maintaining my hold despite his strength advantage. Don't be reckless. That player is massive. Start something with him here, in front of everyone, his teammates, and you'll end up hospitalized like Nathan. So I should just watch while they wheel my brother away? Axel stopped struggling against my grip, but fury still radiated from his tense body. No, we go see how Nathan's doing and check his condition. He doesn't need you fighting for him. He needs your support right now, I insisted. Axel's posture slackened, his gaze returning to the field as he ground his teeth in frustration. Nathan, more than anyone, wants me nowhere near him. Nathan had warned me to keep my distance from Axel without explaining why. Whatever had transpired between the brothers remained a mystery to me, but Axel's concern for Nathan was unmistakable. I squeezed Axel's hand firmly. I'm heading to check on Nathan, and I want you with me. Please. I flashed him my most persuasive look, sensing he wouldn't resist. Whatever had caused the rift between the brothers remained a mystery, but I was determined to help bridge their divide if possible. Save those puppy eyes, Axel replied with an exaggerated eye roll. I'll come along. His easy agreement pleased me. I tugged him forward as we made our way toward the locker rooms. The stadium speakers crackled to life during our walk. Player 22, Dean Ambers from Tier UW, has been suspended for the remainder of the game due to gross misconduct, the announcer declared. What was Dean thinking? I muttered, processing the announcement. Attacking Nathan like that guaranteed expulsion from the match. Desperation, Axel stated flatly. Their team was losing badly. With Nathan dominating, they had no shot. They probably calculated that sacrificing one player was worth taking out their biggest threat. The cold strategy behind it made my stomach turn. That's disgusting. Such deliberate violence should disqualify their entire team. The problem is proving intent, Axel explained. Without evidence it was planned, the punishment won't extend beyond today's suspension. My insides churned as I contemplated this reality. I'd always tried to see goodness in others, but Moira had ripped away that veil, exposing a world full of calculating individuals. The sheer number of manipulative people walking among us disturbed me deeply, and my powerlessness against this truth felt suffocating. What weapons did anyone have against such widespread deceit? We reached the locker room to find the game had resumed, the brutal show continuing as if Nathan's injury was merely a brief intermission. Though I wanted to be there for him, the thought of witnessing another game paralyzed me. I couldn't bear watching him get hurt again. No access beyond this point. A security guard blocked our path as Axel and I tried to proceed. Axel straightened his posture and spoke with unexpected command. Nathan is my brother. You will let us through to see him. The guard immediately wilted under Axel's authority. Right this way, he mumbled, leading us down the corridor. I shot Axel a questioning glance. He responded with nothing but a finger to his lips and a knowing wink. A silent acknowledgement of some hidden power I wasn't privy to. The Burrell family influence was clearly no small thing. The security guard guided us down a hallway before stopping at the health office door. He pushed it open and Axel strode in first. I followed, surprised by how empty the room was considering the number of injuries I'd witnessed on the field. Nathan lay motionless on one of the examination beds, still unconscious. The doctor methodically wrapped bandages around his arm and head. Axel waited tensely until she finished before stepping forward. "How is he?" Axel's voice remained steady, but his eyes betrayed his concern. The doctor's frown deepened as she made notes on her chart. "He'll survive, but he's sustained a serious concussion. His arm is broken, with deep lacerations running along it, and that's not counting the numerous minor injuries. I've treated many injuries in my time, but these exceed what should happen in normal play." Her implication was clear without explicitly stating foul play had occurred. "Recovery time?" Axel maintained his composed expression, though I could sense the worry radiating from him. "1 week, possibly 2. Depends on the severity of the fracture," she replied clinically. Will hospitalization be necessary?" I asked. Despite Werewolf's accelerated healing abilities, broken bones required proper setting. Improper alignment during healing could result in chronic pain or functional limitations. "No need. We're equipped to handle this here. Fractures are commonplace in this sport. The unusual element is the depth and nature of the lacerations," she explained matter-of-factly. I pressed my lips together. The normalization of broken bones as an expected outcome troubled me deeply. Before today, I'd been indifferent to sports, recognizing others' enjoyment without sharing their enthusiasm. Now, with each new revelation about wolfball, my opposition to the sport solidified into something stronger and more defined. "You'll need to step outside while I take x-rays. No unnecessary personnel allowed," the doctor stated firmly. "Thanks for helping my brother," Axel replied, his charm evident as the doctor's cheeks reddened. Charisma clearly ran in their family. I couldn't look away from Nathan's still form. Blood still marked his skin, and the brace encased his arm like a cage. Every instinct screamed to stay until his eyes opened, but Axel's hand found mine, pulling me gently into the hallway just outside the exam room. From above, cheers thundered down through the ceiling. The sound made my stomach turn, how easily they continued as if nothing had happened. Axel released my hand, positioning himself against the wall with crossed arms, his gaze settling on me. "Nathan will recover. This doctor knows what she's doing." I slumped against the cold wall, frustration tightening my chest. "You know her personally?" "Never met her, but the administration wouldn't hire someone incompetent. These injuries probably cross her desk every match." My body slid downward until I hit the floor, exhaling slowly. If it's this dangerous, why does Nathan even play? "Wolfball players are elite. Go professional and society treats you like royalty," Axel explained. "And Nathan isn't just good, he's exceptional. He has the potential to become one of the greatest players in the sport's history." I glanced at Axel, puzzled by his composure. His brother lay unconscious in that room, injuries still being assessed, yet he maintained his cool. I was a wreck despite barely knowing Nathan. "Would Nathan have chosen wolfball without your father's influence?" Axel let out a surprised laugh, pushing away from the wall to sit beside me. He positioned himself with knees up, arms resting on them. "That's the million-dollar question. Truth is, I'm not certain. Nathan's talented, absolutely, but father spotted it first and cultivated it for his own agenda. I can't say if Nathan would have taken this path naturally. Our father manipulates us like puppets. We often don't recognize how deeply he controls our choices. What I do know," he continued, "is how Nathan's face lights up during games. Whether father pushed him into it or not is irrelevant now. He genuinely enjoys wolfball and excels at it. What if he sustains worse injuries? What if this concussion is more serious than the doctor suggests?" I pressed. Axel gave another light laugh. "You're sounding like an anxious parent." I started to protest, but realized the accuracy of his observation. He's kind-hearted. I just don't want to see him suffer. Axel turned to me, his face suddenly uncomfortably close. And often what brings us the greatest joy also causes the deepest pain. "Ethan." I needed to question my father about his knowledge of Juniper's presence. I deliberately omitted her name from all reports to shield her from his scrutiny. Eventually the truth would surface. My father discovered everything, but I'd hoped for more time to devise a protection strategy. "She wasn't relevant to report," I stated falsely. I recognized my father could detect the deception, but I refused to compromise Juniper's safety. My promise to protect her stood firm, regardless of personal consequences. "She has no memory of our family, and she wasn't connected to our assignment here." Was Asher's romantic involvement with her also irrelevant? My father inquired with unsettling composure. His typical anger indicators were absent, yet I felt his wolf energy rising, attempting to dominate my Buen. This power play aimed to establish hierarchy, but I wouldn't yield this time. This assignment was my leadership test. Submitting now would only confirm my status as a follower rather than the leader he expected me to become. Yes, irrelevant. I maintained eye contact while pushing back with my own alpha energy. You dispatched me to handle the teacher exchanging grades for sexual favors. Juniper remains unconnected to that situation, hence not worth mentioning. The school scandal has remained my primary focus. My father reclined, a smirk crossing his face. You've grown bolder since we last met, Ethan. This backtalk is unfamiliar territory. Asher remained silent beside me, but his eyes betrayed his anxiety. Disobeying my directive about Juniper was one thing, but defying our father carried actual penalties that neither of us could easily dismiss. I was determined to prevent my father from issuing the same command regarding Juniper. I'm simply fulfilling the mission you assigned me, I stated with deliberate confidence. I'm managing the situation according to my judgment. If you intend for me to eventually assume your position, you should practice trusting my decisions now. I maintained steady eye contact, knowing he could detect any hesitation or deception. Valid point, my father conceded, lifting his coffee cup. When Principal Clandestine called about your supposedly reckless behavior, I should have been more skeptical. Principal Clandestine prioritizes the school's appearance over student welfare, I replied firmly. His promotion of Asher to valedictorian demonstrates this. The man lacks backbone and is fundamentally unfit for his leadership role. The principal said what? Asher interjected, breaking his silence for the first time since our father had dismissed his coffee selection. Our father lifted his hand, silencing Asher mid-sentence. I recognize your objections about the principal, but his family holds significant standing. Removing him over a mere disagreement would be unwise. However, I find merit in his assessment of Asher's situation. Asher hasn't earned the valedictorian position, I stated with measured restraint, keeping my fury in check. Confronting the principal to defend Juniper was acceptable. Challenging my father was an entirely different matter. He certainly has. His academic record proves it. The only obstacle is his transfer status. At his previous institution, he was on the path to that honor, and he shouldn't suffer consequences for a transition I mandated. He delicately wiped his immaculate lips with a napkin, a calculated display of dominance that left me without a counter. The valedictorian title belongs to Juniper. I refuse to take that from her, Asher declared, straightening his posture. His wolf energy surged, colliding with the combined force emanating from myself and our father. Any ordinary wolf present would have felt crushed by the overwhelming pressure. I observed Asher intently, recognizing this unprecedented defiance. He had never stood against our father this way before, undoubtedly Juniper's influence at work, though Asher himself might not realize it. Why protect her? Our father questioned. She survived while my son perished. She should be thankful to merely exist and attend this school. Her circumstances could have ended quite differently. They still might. Our father deliberately brought up the incident to provoke Asher. It was a calculated move to antagonize him before ultimately crushing his spirit, a stark reminder of the power dynamics at play. But using our brother's death as a casual weapon in conversation was unfathomable to me. Juniper is innocent in this, I interjected before Asher could launch into a hopeless confrontation. If you're concerned about the valedictorian title, let them share it. She's earned her position through hard work, and we won't sabotage her achievements for our gain. That's non-negotiable. Beside me, Asher's fists clenched tight, knuckles blanching with suppressed rage. I knew my intervention frustrated him. He'd always resented when I stepped between him and our father's wrath. What Asher failed to grasp was the necessity of my shield. I'd experienced our father's ruthlessness firsthand, the brutal force of his anger. That knowledge drove my determination to protect my brothers from similar pain, even if it meant repeatedly placing myself in the line of fire. Fine, Father conceded with unexpected ease, rising from his seat. His cold eyes shifted to Asher. Continue your relationship with that worthless girl if you choose. But remember, you're courting disaster. Our agreement remains unchanged. Should Juniper recall the events of that day, we're aware of the consequences. I cut in sharply. When Asher stood, tension radiated from his body, a fighter preparing for battle. I quickly established our mental link. Please, don't escalate this. The 13 years that had passed did nothing to diminish my father's obsession with secrecy. Asher's mental link vibrated with frustration. I felt the weight of his concerns. Juniper had every right to uncover the truth about her history and her family, but complicated forces were at play, forces even I couldn't fully comprehend. Our father's bargain with a witch had sealed away Juniper's memories, and tampering with that arrangement carried consequences none of us could predict. I'll brief you later. Not here. Not with Father present. My eyes locked with Asher's in silent plea. To my knowledge, my brothers remained unaware of just how extensive Juniper's memory loss truly was. They didn't know about my years of rebellion against our father, my desperate attempts to bring Juniper back into our world. Each effort had ended in defeat, but I was determined this time would be different. Asher gave a curt nod. Beta Burrell, he acknowledged stiffly before exiting my apartment. Relief flooded me, though I carefully maintained my neutral expression. Showing weakness before our father was never an option. Asher grows increasingly volatile, Beta Burrell observed coldly. Control him before the situation becomes unmanageable. You deliberately provoked him. What reaction were you expecting? I challenged. I expected obedience from my son. He carries the Burrell name. Maintaining composure regardless of circumstances should be instinctive to him. You're putting too much pressure on him, I said, stepping into dangerous waters, but I couldn't remain silent. Someone needed to stand against my father's unchecked authority. If I was destined to inherit his position someday, I had to stop letting him manipulate my brothers and me. I'm not pushing him hard enough, my father countered, his voice dropping ominously. Do you comprehend what his relationship with that girl could mean? The consequences for him? For our family? He's blind to it. But you aren't. I understand completely. I'll handle the situation. Though not as he intended me to. My research had revealed the truth years ago. Juniper and her family had stumbled upon something they were never meant to discover. Her parents worked as covert operatives for Alpha Williams and Beta Burrell, acting as spies against our enemies. But they uncovered information too dangerous for any werewolf to possess, information that Juniper accidentally accessed. The assassins came while Juniper played with James, my second oldest brother. Juniper barely survived. James wasn't fortunate enough to escape death. Her parents managed to flee the attack. Afterward, my father ensured Juniper's memories remained buried, a measure that protected her from the lethal secret. Juniper's family evaded capture for years, before the secret finally caught up with them. Juniper survived only because she couldn't remember. If those memories ever resurfaced, exposing that terrible truth, she'd endanger herself and everyone connected to her. I never discovered the exact nature of the lethal information her family possessed, yet I witnessed the death that followed this secret. My brothers remained in the dark about why Juniper needed to maintain her amnesia. They believed it was connected to James's death, and I chose not to burden them with the actual truth. I wanted to shield my brothers in ways I had failed to protect James. I'm leaving now, but I expect you know what must be done, my father said, heading toward the exit. I do. I recognized it was time to end the deception. With Juniper back in our lives, I had zero intention of allowing her to disappear again. Whatever dangers might arise, I was committed to safeguarding her, regardless of personal consequences. Juniper! June! Asher's voice echoed down the hallway as he jogged toward me. I leapt to my feet, caught off guard by his sudden appearance. He hadn't sent any messages about finishing his meeting with his father. The moment he reached me, Asher enveloped me in an embrace, holding me tighter and longer than a wool. How's Nathan? Axel rose from his seat behind me. He'll pull through from what they've told us. Broken arm and likely a concussion, they're still treating him but promised we can see him afterward. Asher pressed my head against his chest, his body trembling slightly. I could tell Nathan's condition wasn't the only thing troubling him. Nathan's strong. He'll recover, Asher stated, his voice carrying a forced confidence. I tilted my face up to study his expression. How did you find out we were here? Axel linked me. Of course. Werewolves could mentally connect with pack members, but not with those from other packs. During college, Moira had been my only link, but I blocked her after she started spreading those rumors, cutting off her ability to reach me that way. Did your meeting end early? I thought you'd be occupied until late tonight. Asher had warned me earlier that his father's meetings typically ran long, with excessive attention to details. I wondered if Nathan's injury had created an exception. I walked out, Asher admitted flatly. Because of Nathan? I asked. Not exactly. Asher tightened his embrace briefly, leaving me curious about the meeting's outcome. You actually walked out on our father, Axel remarked, positioning himself against the nearby wall. Never thought I'd witness that. I don't need your commentary, Asher snapped, his jaw tense. Axel raised his palms defensively. No criticism intended. I'm actually impressed. Just wondering what finally pushed you to that point. Asher shot Axel a sharp look before their eyes took on that distinctive werewolf glaze, indicating mental communication. I stepped back from Asher, feeling excluded from their exchange. Though curious about their private conversation, I recognized I had no right to demand details. After all, I'd been vague about my principal meeting, and Asher hadn't pressed me further. Demanding transparency now would make me a hypocrite. I need to go. Catch you later, JJ, Axel announced abruptly, turning away. I watched his retreating figure with disappointment. His sudden departure upon Asher's arrival bothered me. Part of me wanted him to stay longer, yet I couldn't bring myself to ask. Asher gently traced my cheek with his knuckles. How are you holding up? I pressed my lips together and nodded. Seeing Nathan injured like that was terrible, but having Axel there helped me through it. I was caught off guard seeing you two together, Asher said carefully. His statement carried an unspoken curiosity, which made perfect sense. According to my knowledge, the last interaction between Asher and Axel regarding me had been their heated argument where Axel declared he wanted absolutely no association with me. We encountered each other at the bleachers. He mentioned reconsidering his position and expressed interest in friendship, I clarified. Is that so? Asher's expression lightened immediately. That's fantastic. I'm pleased he's making an effort. You are? I couldn't comprehend Asher's reaction. I had anticipated him being displeased about my interaction with Axel. Absolutely. You need all the allies possible right now. The more people supporting you, the more manageable everything becomes. I'm just relieved he finally came to his senses. I nestled against Asher, appreciative of his understanding, though privately wondering if his sentiment would remain unchanged if he discovered Axel and I had shared a kiss. It had occurred before Asher and I had even gone out together, so technically I hadn't betrayed any trust. I'd contemplated revealing this to Asher several times, but recognized it would only create additional friction. Despite my attraction to Axel, I had no romantic intentions toward him, so disclosing the complete truth would needlessly damage both his relationship with Asher and mine. The door to the medical room swung open, and the doctor who had attended to us earlier emerged. He's conscious now if you'd like to visit him. We trailed the doctor into the examination room, and I felt immediate relief seeing Nathan conscious, though his face was marked with a deep frown. I darted to his bedside, embracing him instinctively. Nathan, thank goodness you're awake. His pained groan made me pull back instantly. I'm sorry. He's sustained multiple cracked ribs and a broken arm, the doctor informed us sternly, shooting me a disapproving look. The moderate concussion requires careful monitoring over the coming days to ensure symptoms don't worsen. He should recover within 1 to 2 weeks, depending on his natural healing rate. My apologies, I said, stepping away from the bed. Nathan attempted a reassuring tone. Don't look so worried. I'm okay. Just some minor injuries. These are not minor injuries, the doctor corrected firmly. I'm prescribing minimum 3 days of complete bed rest, no school attendance, and absolutely no athletic practice for at least a week. A whole week. Nathan looked horrified. You have no idea what missing that much practice means. 1 week of recovery beats worsening your condition by returning prematurely, Asher stated matter-of-factly. He addressed the doctor directly. We understand. My brothers and I will monitor him closely. When can we take him home? He can leave now, but only by wheelchair, she stipulated. Understood. The doctor brought the wheelchair, and Asher helped ease Nathan into it. After collecting his belongings, we headed toward the dormitory. Is the wheelchair really necessary? Nathan protested. I'm perfectly capable of walking on my own. Sorry, Asher replied with finality. Doctor's orders are non-negotiable. Being injured doesn't make you a child. It's okay to let others take care of you, I said, aware that Nathan's pride was likely wounded by needing help, as he always wanted me to view him as a capable man. Asher made a knowing sound in his throat. Interesting advice from someone who should follow it herself. I shot him a sharp look, fully aware of his implication. I've allowed you to escort me to class all week. Isn't that sufficient? It'll do for the moment. This means I can't fulfill my duty of taking Junie to class, Nathan realized, his voice tinged with disappointment. Walking to class alone occasionally won't hurt me. Nobody has attempted anything yet. Perhaps the threat is diminishing, I suggested. Nobody has tried because a burl has been at your side constantly. No one dares attack when we're present, Nathan countered firmly. I sighed, acknowledging the truth in his words. Even so, Asher has his own classes. He can't always be my escort. I'll manage fine. What about getting Axel to help? Asher proposed unexpectedly. Axel? Nathan's voice hardened. Why suggest him? Junie would be safer alone than with Axel. The tension was palpable. Though Nathan clearly harbored resentment toward Axel, I could tell from previous interactions that Axel still deeply cared for his brother. You should really give Axel more credit, Asher defended. Not happening. Nathan closed off, refusing further discussion. I exchanged glances with Asher, who silently mouthed sorry to me, acknowledging the awkward situation he'd created. The return journey was quiet, which suited me fine. After the boisterous wolfball game, I welcomed the peace. Asher and I maneuvered Nathan into his bedroom, making sure he was comfortable before retreating to the living room. We sank onto the couch together, Asher's arm automatically finding its place around my shoulders as I nestled against him. Asher exhaled heavily, his head falling back against the cushions. Fatigue lined his features, eyes closing momentarily. Everything all right? I inquired, placing my palm against his chest, feeling his steady heartbeat beneath my fingers. Getting there, he murmured, pressing his lips to my forehead. You being here helps considerably. The meeting was rough, I ventured. Asher rarely discussed interactions with his father, but the sparse mentions painted a picture of a difficult man. My father consistently drains me, but this particular instance. He paused, shaking his head slightly. He deliberately unearthed painful memories, and restraining myself became challenging. That sounds terrible, I responded, uncertain how to better comfort him. It was difficult, but Ethan stepped in, prevented me from launching into a full-blown confrontation. Asher's tone revealed conflicting emotions about his brother's intervention. Isn't that positive? I questioned. Perhaps, though I remained skeptical that he wasn't simply protecting his own interests, Asher replied. I traced my finger along Asher's collar, sensing that mentioning Ethan's genuine concern for his brothers wouldn't provide the comfort he needed right now. Some truths are better left unspoken. Instead, I shifted my weight and settled onto his lap, choosing distraction over difficult conversations. So I was thinking, I began, my fingertips lightly dancing across his collarbones. Asher's posture immediately changed, his attention fully captured. His hands found their way to my hips as he raised his eyebrows. Oh? The single word carried expectation. I was thinking we could have that party next weekend, I suggested. It would give Nathan enough time to heal so he could enjoy it too. I thought you said you didn't like the idea of the party. He was right. We'd barely discussed it since he first proposed the idea. I'd admitted my nervousness about hosting, and Asher hadn't pushed the subject afterward. Part of me had hoped he'd forgotten about it entirely. I know, but maybe you're right, I conceded. A party makes me nervous, but it might be good for me. I could use more friends, right? Asher studied my face. Are you sure? I don't want you to feel pressured. I leaned forward and pressed my lips against his, taking my time to savor the moment. When I pulled away, I could see the desire in his eyes for more. If we can do more of this, then I think a party would be a lot of fun. Asher abruptly turned me over onto the couch, my back pressing against the cushions. His lips found my neck, sending a wave of laughter bubbling from my throat. Each day with him tested my restraint further, particularly when his kisses trailed along my neck in that precise way. Juniper. I yanked the door open before Moira could reach it, desperate to prevent any interaction between her and Asher. The sight that greeted me sent my pulse racing. "Axel?" I stammered, unable to hide my surprise. "Reporting for duty," Axel replied with a casual wink. "You look disappointed." "No, My words tumbled out awkwardly. "Asher mentioned walking me to class today, so seeing you caught me off guard. Not that your presence is unwelcome. No, it's actually nice to see you." I paused to collect myself. Axel looked unusually appealing this morning, though I couldn't identify exactly why. His unexpected appearance had completely thrown me. He arched an eyebrow as I stumbled through my explanation. "Ethan needed to speak with Asher this morning. He was supposed to text you about the changey. I can leave if you'd prefer." "No, please stay. I was just startled since I hadn't seen any message." I checked my phone and discovered Asher's text explaining everything. "Oh, there it is. I haven't looked at my phone all morning." "Clearly," Axel remarked. "Ready to go? I know you hate being late." "Yes, let's go." I grabbed my bag and hurried out. My heart continued pounding as we walked side by side. I hadn't encountered him since the football game, and his words from that night echoed in my mind. "You're dating Asher. I didn't think you wanted to be more." I couldn't shake Axel's words from my mind. The implication hung in the air. If Asher wasn't in the picture, he would pursue me. My thoughts cycled through our history. That kiss he dismissed, telling Asher he wanted distance from me, then admitting proximity to me tested his restraint. Friendship seemed like the safe harbor at first, yet walking beside him now, I caught myself wondering about the feel of his fingers intertwined with mine. These thoughts about Axel troubled me. My commitment to Asher was genuine. I cared for him and had no intention of sabotaging our relationship, despite every fiber of my being inexplicably drawing me toward his brother. "Are you okay?" Axel interrupted my spiral. I snapped back to reality, noticing my prolonged silence since leaving the dorm. "Yeah, sorry. Just got lost in thought." "You can talk to me if something's bothering you. That's what friends do, right?" His hand swung perilously near mine as we walked. I clutched my backpack straps, physically restraining myself from reaching for him. "Right," I agreed, though uncertainty lingered in my response. "Then tell me what's happening in there." He lightly knocked on my head with his knuckles. The simple action triggered something, a fragment of memory, a sense that someone from my past used to make that exact same gesture. But try as I might, I couldn't recall who or when. I hesitated, weighing my response to Axel carefully. "I experienced this odd connection to you that I can't quite figure out," I finally confessed. Axel's expression shifted, his usual playfulness gone. "What kind of connection?" He fixed me with an intent gaze. "If I could define it clearly, it wouldn't be puzzling me," I replied with a small laugh, trying to ease the sudden seriousness between us. "Give it your best shot. I might help you sort through it. That's what friends do." The way he emphasized friends made me wonder if he was reminding himself or me of our boundaries. "It's these flashes of déjà vu I get around you. Something minor, a phrase or movement, triggers this profound sensation, but when I try to pinpoint why, the reason slips away." I watched his face carefully, expecting mockery, but found him unusually thoughtful instead. "Perhaps we crossed paths before," Axel suggested, his tone surprisingly earnest. I waited for the punchline that never came. "I definitely recall meeting you previously. You're not someone easily forgotten. Especially given that the Burrell family was practically local royalty, encounters with them tended to stick in one's memory." "Maybe we knew each other in another lifetime," Axel said, his smirk finally returning. "Do you actually believe in reincarnation?" I asked, genuinely curious. Axel's shoulders lifted in a casual shrug. "I'd prefer thinking I was once a prince or warrior." "Sounds interesting, doesn't it?" "You're practically royalty now," I laughed, shaking my head. "Though I see you more as the thief character, not the noble prince." Axel pressed his hand dramatically against his chest. "I'm offended. I possess every bit as much royal blood as my brothers. Princes don't typically dress in leather jackets." When my fingers brushed against his arm, an electric sensation shot through me, causing me to withdraw my hand instantly. Never took you for someone who judges books by their covers. That's disappointing, JJ. Axel's exaggerated tone made his playful mockery obvious. I don't recall princes being known for skipping their royal duties, I responded with an eye roll. For your information, my academic record matches Asher's perfectly. So what if I miss a few classes here and there? When I'm still acing exams, does attendance really matter? But the lectures might contain vital information. Don't you have any curiosity about learning? While I understood education wasn't everyone's priority, I struggled to comprehend why anyone would willingly miss class. If by vital information you mean mind-numbing presentations, then yes, I'm missing those, he chuckled, messing up my hair. Don't pretend you've never fought to keep your eyes open during certain subjects. I pressed my lips together, irritated that his point was valid. Fine, you win. Some classes are completely tedious. Exactly my point. I'm actually the smart one here. I avoid the boredom and still maintain excellent grades, Axel argued triumphantly. So beneath that rebel act, you're actually academic. Just selective about it, I noted. Discovering Axel's hidden academic prowess only enhanced my opinion of him. The rumors painting him as a poor student clearly missed the mark. You think they'd let someone with failing grades transfer here? Even with my family name, this school has standards. My academic record actually surpasses Nathan's. People just label me the troublemaker because I don't bow to my father's every command. Is that why Nathan resents you so much? The question spilled out before I could filter it. I immediately tensed, worried I'd overstepped. So you noticed that tension, Axel remarked. His smile disappeared, but he seemed more reflective than offended. That's a story that needs more time than we have right now. We're almost at your building. I just hate the distance between you. It's obvious you care about your brothers, but they're blind to it. I wish they could see what I see in you. Despite Axel's tough exterior and reputation as a flirt, I'd witnessed how carefully he monitored his behavior to shield his family. Seeing through his protective layers was perhaps why I felt such a connection to him. I wanted him to know someone recognized his true self. As we approached my lecture hall, Axel stopped walking. As long as you see the real me, I don't particularly care what impression my brothers have. My chest constricted at the sight of him. An impulse to embrace Axel surged through me, but I retreated, recognizing the risk. Physical closeness with him felt like playing with fire. Appreciate the escort to class, I said, deliberately stepping backward to maintain distance and prevent any foolish actions. No problem, JJ. What's the situation? I questioned immediately upon entering Ethan's apartment. We hadn't communicated since my confrontation with father, and I'd been anticipating repercussions all weekend. Come in properly. Ethan gestured further into his living space. His formality remained intact even with just me present. Just give me the facts, I insisted, refusing his offer to sit. Restlessness prevented me from staying still. Ethan closed the door, observing my pacing before speaking. He's furious, particularly because I withheld information. We're temporarily safe, but I'm warning you, things will deteriorate significantly before improving. I can't comprehend his hostility toward Juniper. Targeting her makes no sense. Why is she even on his radar? She bears no responsibility for James's death. He seriously needs psychological help. My former respect for my father was rapidly transforming into resentment. Throughout these years, I'd only managed to stay away from Juniper by convincing myself she was somehow at fault. Seeing her again demolished that illusion. Asher? Ethan's grip tightened around my shoulders, cutting off my rambling. His eyes locked with mine, unnervingly intense. I need your complete attention right now. There's critical information about James's death that's been hidden from you, and I refuse to be Father's secret keeper anymore. What exactly are you saying? I studied my brother's face, noticing how his usually calculated demeanor had given way to something raw and urgent. The familiar crease between his brows had deepened, and there was a tightness around his mouth that telegraphed serious trouble. Listen carefully. Ethan lowered his voice, glancing briefly around us. What I'm about to reveal could put Juniper in genuine danger if she discovers it. That's precisely why you need to know. I've carried these secrets long enough, and if protecting Juniper matters to you, and I know it does, then you need to understand what we're really dealing with. Asher, you honestly believe throwing a party will salvage Juniper's reputation? Axel questioned while observing me arrange bottles for the evening's event. Got any better suggestions? I fired back. Since I'd revealed my plan, Axel had continuously criticized it, wearing my patience thin. At least I was taking concrete action to help Juniper. I fail to see how hosting a bunch of drunk strangers accomplishes anything. They're just here for free alcohol. They're attending because people scramble for any connection to the Burrell name, I explained, fighting the impulse to hurl something at him. And while they're here, I can demonstrate that Juniper isn't what those rumors suggest. You're presuming anyone will actually listen to what you say. Meaning what exactly? Axel approached, picked up a bottle, and examined it. You know perfectly well nobody cares about us as individuals. He had a valid point. That was precisely why Juniper meant so much to me. Despite not remembering our childhood together, she valued me for who I was. That's why this party mattered. It couldn't possibly damage her reputation further, even if it didn't achieve my goals. Perhaps not. But it's worth attempting. Like I said, I'm open to alternatives if you have any. I paused to meet Axel's gaze. For her sake, I hope this works, he replied. Me too. My chest pounded with the desire to bring happiness into Juniper's life. She'd been dealt a rough hand, and I was determined to stand beside her through it all. Hey, Axel. That tone sounds serious. I'm planning to ask Juniper to be my girlfriend tonight, I revealed. The thought had occupied my mind all week. Despite dating for several weeks, we hadn't put a label on our relationship. Though Juniper didn't seem like someone who dated multiple people, she spent most of her free time with me. I craved that official status. I wanted the certainty that she was exclusively mine. Axel placed his drink down and paused before responding. You'll need more alcohol than this. I only invited a few classmates. This should be sufficient. Axel chuckled, shaking his head as he grabbed the car keys from the rack. I'll get more from the store. Trust me, you'll need it. He walked out before I could object. His dismissive reaction to my announcement left me uneasy. I couldn't understand why it bothered him when he was making efforts to befriend Juniper. Perhaps he still worried I was putting her at risk. When I'd told him about meeting with our father, he'd simply replied, "Typical father." His concern lingered despite my reassurances. I stared at my phone, wondering if father would disown me for dating Juniper. Ethan had promised she'd be safe from our father's wrath, but that didn't ease my conscience about the valedictorian situation. Sharing the title with her felt wrong, like I was snatching away something she'd earned through genuine hard work. I hadn't found the courage to tell her yet. Focus, I muttered to myself, setting the phone down. Tonight was about escaping family drama, not dwelling on it. I surveyed the excessive array of drinks covering my counter. I'd bought enough for 20 people when I'd only invited 10. Typical overpreparation. Axel had insisted we needed more, claiming my small gathering would explode into something bigger. I thought he was being ridiculous, but if he wanted to waste his money on extra alcohol, I wouldn't stop him. My phone buzzed with a message from Juniper. She was running behind, determined to finish drafting an essay before heading over. I replied, telling her not to take too long. She promised she'd only be a few minutes late. 7 o'clock came. I checked my phone again. No updates from Juniper. 20 minutes passed with no guests arriving either. An uncomfortable feeling settled in my stomach. Maybe being a Burrell wasn't the social guarantee I thought it was. Perhaps people actually didn't want to hang out with me after all. After another 5 minutes, my phone vibrated, but a knock at the door interrupted before I could check it. Hoping to see Juniper, I practically sprinted across the room. Instead, I found a cluster of unfamiliar faces that erupted into cheers at my appearance. Among them, only one person seemed remotely familiar. "Welcome. Kitchen has drinks. Make yourselves at home," I said flatly. The group rushed past me, making a beeline for the alcohol. Another rapid knock followed, and this time an even larger crowd waited outside. I stared blankly, recognizing none of these unexpected guests. The realization hit me suddenly. Axel's liquor run made perfect sense now. This wouldn't be the intimate gathering I'd planned. News about the Burrell brothers hosting had spread with unstoppable momentum, like flames devouring parched grassland. Juniper. Pulsating music assaulted my ears as I neared Asher's dormitory. I double-checked the room number, convinced I must have navigated to the wrong floor. Asher had explicitly described a laid-back social gathering, but the thundering bass suggested something entirely different. A pack of rowdy students pushed past me, barging through the entrance without even knocking. I slipped in behind them and found myself immediately overwhelmed. Inside, the cacophony intensified tenfold. Dim lighting cast shadows across a sea of bodies that packed every available space. The familiar dorm had transformed completely, rendered unrecognizable by the sheer volume of people. I navigated through the crowd, scanning for Asher with growing frustration. The sea of unfamiliar faces made the search nearly impossible. I tried calling him, but only reached voicemail, the thundering music likely drowning out any ringtone. Making my way to the kitchen required determination, shouldering past dancing bodies and spilled drinks. Once there, I watched several partygoers rummaging through an ice chest for beverages. Following suit, I grabbed something cold, hoping it would settle my increasing anxiety. My tardiness was only 45 minutes, yet the party had already descended into chaos. According to Moira, these gatherings only deteriorated as the night progressed. Had I known this was the type of event Asher planned, I never would have agreed to attend. The kitchen seemed the most strategic location to wait. Rather than plunging back into the mayhem, I sent Asher a text with my location. His presence would make this entire situation more bearable. "Aren't you the girl who hooks up with professors?" asked an unfamiliar sophomore after retrieving his drink. Though clearly underage, challenging his alcohol consumption wasn't my priority. "You're confusing me with someone else," I replied flatly. "No way, it's definitely you. I watched that video where you were harassing that cheerleader," he persisted, swaying slightly. Tonight was undoubtedly a disaster. "Perhaps you're confusing me with my sister?" I lied, hoping this fabrication would end our unwanted conversation. I had no sister, but anything to make this guy leave me alone. "Huh, you two really look similar then." I plastered on a fake smile and remained silent, praying he'd catch my disinterest. He stepped uncomfortably closer, oblivious to my signals. "So, are you as easy as she is? Maybe we could find somewhere private." "There you are, babe," Asher interrupted, gripping my arm and positioning himself as a barrier between us. I clung to Asher immediately, feeling my panic subside with his presence. "I was just explaining to this gentleman that I don't casually sleep with strangers." Asher faced the guy with his trademark smile, the one everyone found irresistible, but his eyes betrayed something menacing beneath. "Word of advice, don't believe every piece of gossip you hear. Makes you look like an idiot when you accuse innocent people, especially those connected to someone like me." The guy visibly shrank under Asher's thinly veiled threat. "My apologies," he muttered, averting his gaze. "The alcohol's messing with my head. I obviously confused her with someone else." "Obviously," Asher replied, his stare hardening. "Why don't you check out what's happening in the living room? It's much more entertaining there." His tone made it abundantly clear this wasn't a suggestion. The anonymous student elbowed his way through the throng, muttering, "Thanks for the invite," before vanishing into the sea of bodies. Asher spun around, effectively trapping me against the kitchen counter. His arms formed a protective cocoon, shielding me from the chaos of the party. "Finally alone," he murmured. He dipped his head and captured my lips with his. In that instant, the world contracted. The pounding music, the drunken laughter, all of it faded to nothing. There was only Asher, his warmth, his taste. When he pulled back, his eyes sparkled. "Hey there, thought you'd never show." I settled my hands on his waist, returning his smile despite my unease. "Hey yourself, sorry about the time." Reality crashed back as the bass thumped through the floorboards, an unwelcome reminder of our surroundings. "You're here now. That's what matters." "Asher, this." I gestured at the packed room. "Isn't exactly what I pictured when you said party." He exhaled heavily, frustration evident in the set of his jaw. "Trust me, this wasn't the plan. I invited maybe 20 people tops, but then they brought friends, who brought more friends, and suddenly, it's being called the event of the semester." "So you didn't intend for?" I left the question hanging. "God, no. This isn't a get-to-know-you gathering anymore." His eyes swept across the room where someone was doing shots off the coffee table. This is full-blown chaos where people drink until they forget their own names and make out with strangers. He turned back to me, concern etching his features. Fun under different circumstances, maybe, but definitely not going to help your situation. I glanced behind Asher, finding some comfort in the realization that this chaotic scene wasn't his intention either. Memories flashed through my mind of all those invitations from Moira that I'd declined, her voice echoing with accusations of me being too uptight. Looks like we're stuck in this situation anyway, so maybe we should just embrace it, I suggested, nibbling anxiously on my bottom lip. The words felt foreign coming from me, a step outside my usual reserved demeanor. Embrace it? Asher's eyebrows shot up in surprise. I wouldn't be opposed to kissing the nearest person. That's all I'm saying. I met Asher's gaze directly and fluttered my eyelashes playfully. This kind of forward suggestion wasn't my typical approach in public spaces, but it seemed appropriate for the party atmosphere we were trapped in.